Hello, I'm Jana Horak. I'm Head of Mineralogy and Petrology here at the museum, and I'm going to talk to you today about finding meteorites. This specimen here is a sample of the Chelyabinx meteorite. Now you might remember it from dash cam footage from Russia in February 2013. This was really exceptional. It was the first time we had seen a fireball and a meteoroid come through the atmosphere and land on Earth as a meteorite, totally filmed. So, the question is, do we have meteorites in Britain? Well, we know there's at least 22 meteorites found in Britain that are verified by the Natural History Museum in London, and probably many more. Of those, there's 4 from Scotland, 2 from Northern Ireland, and 2 from Wales. But the 2 in Wales were only found because they fell in front of people and were instantly preserved. So, the first of these is the meteorite that fell in 1949. It fell through the roof of the hotel, and it was preceded by a sort of shotgun type noise that alerted people. And the owner recorded where it entered through the roof and the ceiling, and calculated that it must have just fallen vertically, which was a good observation. The specimen, of which this is a model, was split between the Natural History Museum London and Durham University. Durham University undertook a chemical analysis of it, which was an important step forward, and then they donated a small sliver of it to the museum here in Cardiff, and you can see it on display. This was a model that somebody carefully thought to make before it was chopped up, and the meteorite weighed about 794 grams. The second meteorite from Wales is the Pont Lively one, and again this is just a model. It fell in 1931, and it was witnessed by the farmer's son, who again heard a very gunshot type noise and a whistling sound and a thud, and found a little pit at his feet, picked it up and found that it was still warm. From recordings over the rest of Wales, it's actually felt that this was part of a much bigger bolide, but unfortunately the rest of it landed in the sea and has not been recovered. We don't actually have a specimen of this. This resides in the Natural History Museum. It was kept in private ownership for quite a long time until the Natural History Museum undertook some analysis in the 1970s and acquired it. So, how do we find meteorites, you might ask? Well, in arid areas, particularly desert areas, meteorites tend to stand out. They have this dark outer layer like this that we see on the Chelyabinx meteorite, and that's in contrast to the other desert rocks. However, somewhere like Wales, where we've got lots of vegetation and a good thick soil layer, which is often damp, a meteorite coming in is highly likely just to embed itself in the soil and vegetation and be lost. Now, if it's an iron meteorite, like the one on display in the gallery here, you would be able to find it with a metal detector. But the other types of meteorites don't have a lot of iron in them, and therefore the metal detector wouldn't be very successful. And in any case, where would you know how to go and look? So, for some people that are allowed the honour of or access to go on the roof of the museum, they might notice there's a camera up there, and they might just think this is any old security camera. In actual fact, it's our Fireball Meteor investigating camera. We're part of the UK network, the SCAMP project, and this links across to the French network called Fripon and to the Italian network. So we have quite a large area over which meteorites can be monitored. So if we have a meteorite or body starts forming a fireball as it comes into the top of the atmosphere about 100 kilometres up. So it might just be dust, or it might be a rock of any size. If we have 2 cameras 100 kilometres apart, and we can record this motion of a body passing through the atmosphere, we're able to triangulate both its downward trajectory, but also its upward trajectory of where it has come from. If we have more cameras, we can be more accurate, and we can pinpoint more precisely where the path of it, and whether the meteoroid had actually burnt up totally, or whether it had actually hit the Earth as a meteorite. So you might ask whether this actually works. The Italian network in January 2020 had their first find and located a meteorite specimen from using their network. They calculated that there had been material that had actually fallen and hit the ground. They got a band of volunteers, but they knew they could target where to go and search, and they retrieved material. And they calculate if we had a full network in Britain, we might retrieve a minimum of 2 meteorites per year. We did have one potential meteorite to go and hunt for late in 2020 in Britain. The calculations were done. Initially, we thought there would be a meteorite. Unfortunately, when the calculations were done accurately, it was determined that the body that had fallen was probably less than the size of a pea, and it had fallen somewhere over the Salisbury area. So it was really decided looking for a pea in the area of Salisbury was not terribly effective use of time and unlikely to find a meteorite. However, we live in hope, and we hope that in the future we will be able to locate more meteorites that fall in Wales.